Now, I want to throw this question back to Dr. Balogun. I'm sure you must have had many encounters with teenagers. So can you just give us the cause of, what do you think might be the cause of this issue? Of teenagers not going close to their parents?
Good evening, everyone. Let me very quickly appreciate our senior pastor and Pastor Mrs. Thank you for the invitation. So I hope that we are going to have a warm session tonight. So regarding the question that you have asked, I think the answer to that question is not one. It is what we call multifactorial. That is, there are multiple factors. There are reasons on the side of the parents. There are reasons on the side of the teenagers. And then there is the cultural reason. Now, let me start with the parents, even though tonight is about the teenagers. Now, two things I'm going to mention regarding the parents is this. One is the promise of God. What the Bible says in the book of Proverbs, chapter 22, verse 6, train up a child in the way he should go. And when he is grown, what will happen? It will not depart. There are two components to that verse. One is a duty. The second is a promise. When we have done the duty, we can come to God and say, God, I have done my own part. Now, I want to claim the promise. But we cannot claim the promise if we have not performed our duty. And what is our duty? Train up. Train up. Now, based on our own experiences with parents and teenagers and all of that, we realize that most parents, in fact, research also have shown that scientifically now, that most parents don't even know what a child should know. I don't know if you get that. Many parents don't even know what a child should know, let alone training that child in the way he should go. So what we now do is that we fall back on the culture. And that's okay, in our own culture, how do we train these children? And then we start training them based on culture. And you know, if you know over the years, what has happened to our culture? Has it not been metamorphosizing? It's changing. So what happened? It means that culture is no longer a reliable method to train a child. But the question is, how much of what a child needs to know do we know as parents? That is where I want to start. And that is why when those children are growing up, we cannot come to God to claim the promise. So no matter, just like our daddy has said, no matter how much you try on a child, whether that child is going to, his head is going to be correct, it's in the hand of God. Do you agree with me? But since that is in the hand of God, God now says, just do your own part and then leave the other part to me. But the question is, are we doing our own part? That is a major problem. Now, the second thing I will talk about regarding on the part of the parents is this. Now, you see these children, especially what we call the Generation Z children, those children born from 1990 something or above, they are not like those of us, lesser. You know, I'm sorry that small boy like me, I'm also saying I'm not Generation Z. Sincerely speaking, I'm not Generation Z. So, they are not like us. In our own time, if our parents say, sit down there, who born you not to sit down? By the time 2 or 3 hot slaps land on your cheeks, you'll be forced to sit down. But now, what happened to Generation Z? Sit down there, they will say, why? But what happens? We parents of Generation Z children, we don't know that there is a uniqueness about this generation. The moment you can let them know that why, do you know they will sit down with joy? But what happens? We want to train them like our parents trained us. And when we do that, we start losing them. They want to run away from the house. Why? Because they cannot understand. It doesn't make sense to them. All you need to do is just explain to them, but we want to train them based on what we used to do. Now, that is number 2. Then number 3, what is the content? What is our level of knowledge? Personally, I did an observational study on parents and children as the children grow from childhood to adolescence and so on. And what was my finding? My finding was this, that children are more obedient when they are in the children's church. But the moment they become youth, enter into the youth church, become teenagers, they become very arrogant. Have you noticed that? Now, what has changed? When they were in the children's church, you, the parent, is the Alpha and Omega. Whatever you tell them, they accept. But these children, continuously, they are growing in intellect. Their brain is growing. They are becoming more inquisitive. Every now and then. But we, the parents, are we growing? We are not answering. Are we growing? We are still using the 1980-something knowledge. So a time will now come that those children will come and meet you and ask you a particular question. Then when you answer them, it does not make sense to them. Then they will look for somebody else and ask somebody else the same question, and that question will make, the answer from that person will make sense to them. What do you think has happened? You as a parent has lost relevance in the life of that child. And then the child is now looking for role model outside. That is how we are losing them. They are growing in intellect, but we parents will remain in one point. We are telling them it's a sin to use mobile phone. Rather than help them to get the mobile phone, sit down with them and use that mobile phone with them, teach them how to use it correctly, do all of those, but rather we say, no, you cannot use it. Then a time will now come, they will now find it somewhere that there's a lot of things they can do on that mobile phone. And they'll be wondering, why is it that mommy or daddy did not tell me about this? What has happened to mommy or daddy? They have lost relevance. And then those children will be looking for relevance outside.